mid-season preview. Or review. Preview would be before. This is after. Yeah. Yeah, so every year... So every year, really, the Midsummer Classic, the All-Star Game, is really supposed to represent mid-season, but it's always about 2 weeks after the actual middle of the season, so... But I'm just going to run down some of the divisions, give you who I think is going to win the division, or who the leader of the division is right now, give you a little bit of points. I'm not going to go over all 31 teams that there is in the MLB because, yeah, we always go late anyway, so I don't think you guys want us to go 4 hours late, though.
Maybe 17 hours late.
25 and a half hours late.
All day, every day, from now on.
We will just keep broadcasting for the next year straight about something that happened long time. Yeah, wouldn't that be weird if we just kept the same topic going? Because people would be like, well, lots have changed since you guys started talking about it. Why don't you talk about... No, same topic. We're stuck in the middle of the season, so...
Anyone that listens will be an absolute expert on it, and we will be the best at talking about it by the end.
We would have to, if we could keep
the definitive guide, okay,
of the 2014 middle of the season, just this part of the year, not the whole year, not all MLB, just the mid-season. But yeah, so let's start it off, and let's start it off with the NL. So if you don't know what NL means, that is National League for all you out there who want to be in the know. And a lot of you already knew that. But so let's start off with the Central. Now, on the top of the Central right now is the Brewers. But the Brewers have had a very interesting year. I believe April, they had the best record of any baseball team in April. May, they had a below 500 record. June, I believe, again, they had the best record of anybody in baseball. And then started out July with the worst record in baseball. So these guys have been...
That's a lot of fluctuation. That is a lot. I don't really understand... I mean, things must be really close for them to be able to go from top to bottom that frequently.
Yeah, well,
because you'd think like top, like you might drop down, but you wouldn't think bottom or near bottom in just a month's time or just a couple weeks' time.
They weren't dropping like to the bottom of their division. They were just like total overall record for just the month. So it's been.
Oh,
quite the roller coaster.
Maybe you should have been clear about that, Brian. You confuse me.
I think we need to roll back the tape and we'll see how clear I was. Roll back tape.
You roll back the tape.
But yes, but unfortunately, they really can't do this in their division and hope to win because they have another team that's only about one game behind them, the St. Louis Cardinals. The team that was runner-up in the World Series last year. Yeah, I think Boston won last year. Yeah, so. I see the Cardinals overtaking them by the end of the year because of the inconsistency of Milwaukee. Plus, the Cardinals have a great starting rotation. They have great hitters. I mean, they're a stacked team. They've been in the World Series, I want to say, 3 out of the past 5 years. So,
I don't know. Cardinals might be starting a trend of throwing games by giving, retiring veterans easy throws.
Wainwright, but I don't think he has to play Derek Jeter again unless they meet him in the playoffs. So that's a sigh of relief for Cardinals fans. But yeah, so let's move it on to the West. And this is a pretty fun matchup to watch because the Dodgers and the Giants are one of the biggest rivalries in the MLB. I mean, in baseball in general, that's one of the biggest rivalries. I mean, really, if you were going to stack up the rivalry scale, I'd say Redskins versus Cowboys, biggest rivalry in sports. Then you have Ohio State, Michigan. Maybe above Ohio State, Michigan, you'd have New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox. And then right below them is the Dodgers and the Giants. Those two teams have been going at each other ever since the Dodgers moved from Brooklyn. So, yeah, I don't think the San Francisco Giants
I thought they were going at it even while the Dodgers were in Brooklyn, but...
I don't think the rivalry was quite as big until they moved to in-state. So I think that's really what really sparked off that rivalry. And that happened like 30, 40 years ago. So it's been going strong for quite a while. Right now, the Dodgers are ahead of the Giants. And I think that's going to be kind of how it stays because they have the pitching of I know these pitchers. Zach Greinke. He's an awesome pitcher. And probably the best pitcher in the game right now, Clayton Kershaw. So you have those two guys anchoring a rotation that is not a bad rotation. They also have people like Jeff Beckett. Jim. I don't know what his name is. What is his name? Brendan, what's his name? Beckett. Josh Beckett. I knew it was a J. Damn it. Damn it. Yeah. I'm just going to hang my head in shame for a little bit. So I'm going to talk to you guys with my shame head.
That's shame head? That doesn't sound right.
My shamed head. Yeah, so now I do like San Francisco, but I don't think they quite have enough to overcome what the Dodgers have. So look for them to win, but I do think the Giants are going to make it into the playoffs in one of the wild card spots. So that'll be interesting. And then let's move it over to the East. And now this is a little bit more closer to home because we're here in D.C., so I do get to watch more Nationals games than I do almost anybody else except for Baltimore Oriole games. And the Nats and the Braves going into the All-Star break are actually tied for number one. If I had to tell you who I think is going to win this division, I would say the Nats, because I believe they have the best starting pitching rotation in all of baseball, with Strasburg, Zimmerman, Gio Gonzalez, Doug Fister, and Tanner Roark. Those guys have been spectacular. I believe they have one of the lowest ERAs for starting rotations, and they also have a really solid bullpen anchored by snubbed closer Rafael Soriano, who should have made it into the All-Star game but didn't quite. But then again, you look over at the Atlanta side, those guys have some great hitters. Freeman, great hitter. Hayward, great hitter. I mean, they can really turn it on when they need to. And the only thing that I would say would hamper the Nationals is playing the Braves, because it seems like the Braves just always kill them every time they play. So,
They're the kryptonites.
They are the kryptonite to the Superman that is the Nationals. So, we'll see what happens there. But it should be a fun race to watch all the way to the end. That'll probably be the closest division race in all of baseball. So keep an eye on them. That'll be fun to watch. So, we did the NL. I think it's time for the AL. And let's start it off with the East. And close to my heart, my favorite baseball team, the Baltimore Orioles. They are leading by 4 games over the Blue Jays. So I actually think that they do have a good shot at winning the East this year. Now, one of the worst things about the Orioles is they always seem to really suck the second half of the season, and they've been doing this for a long time. So you never know. The Yankees are going to try to really get Jeter into the playoffs for his last run, so it'll be close.
Yeah, but I mean, they haven't done too bad the last few years, and I'm still surprised at how well they've been doing. Like, because I'm just so used to all those years that when we were growing up, the Orioles not doing all that great. Like, loved them through and through, and just I went to so many of their games. That's the team I've seen the most games of. That's probably the team I've seen the most professional games of. Period.
In person, yeah.
Yeah, in stadium. But yeah, I mean, when I went to see them, most of the time they lost. And
you still had a good time, but they just didn't win.
I still had a good time. Like, every once in a while they won, but so it's always surprising to me. And after all that time, I'm still just thrilled seeing them win, seeing them do decently, be real playoff contenders for the last few years now.
4 years, yeah.
Yeah, so it hasn't worn off. Like, even though they've been at that level for the last few years now, it's still just always shocking. It's like, oh, what? We're actually winning? Yes!
We're not horrible, sweet!
Finally pulled off.
Yeah. So and really, they probably had the best pickup of all time out of a free agent by signing Nelson Cruz to an $8 million contract, when this guy turned down a $14 million contract from the Rangers, and he's just gone on to, most of this year, he's led the league in home runs and RBIs. So that was an amazing pickup. They also have one of the best bullpens in baseball. So I looked for them to hopefully not take a nosedive and close out the season strong. So. But you never know. This is unpredictable. That's why I love sports. And let's move it on to the Central. And in the Central, you have the Tigers and the Tigers and the Tigers. Now, they are anchored by a starting rotation of Scherzer, Porcello, and Verlander, 3 of the better pitchers in the American League. Verlander has his fair share of Cy Youngs, and Scherzer, if he keeps pitching the way he is, he will. They'll start to mount up. So. Did I mention they have a guy named Miguel Cabrera? and he is probably the only Triple Crown threat we've seen in the past 30, 40 years. And if you don't know what the Triple Crown is, that's when you lead your league in hitting, home runs, and RBIs. It's not a feat that happens very often. So
no, Brian. The Triple Crown is a horse racing set of races.
Yeah, it is. It is that too.
It's nothing to do with baseball, Brian.
It just does. It does. I mean, yeah, I think they did steal that term from horse racing, but you know,
it's rare. Whatever it is, it's rare in both. So there you go.
And only then what's the guy? That did. I'm trying to. And then Secretary comes out. Wouldn't it be cool if you could?
I have no idea what you're saying right now. I think you're crazy. I don't know if you even hear me anymore. Something has happened with my sound, or your sound. Well, everybody, how's it going? I don't know if Brian's still going. I don't know if I'm still going. But this is the time of the show where I just go on my own tangents anyway, despite whatever Brian may or may not be saying. So, in baseball, they throw balls, and then they run bases.
Who knows sports? But yeah, so I do think the Tigers are going to pull that out and win that division and have a good shot at making the World Series. And then let's finish it off with the last division, is the West. And you have a really good battle going with the Athletics, who have the best record in baseball right now, and the Los Angeles Angels. Anchor, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I was saying the Athletics, they have the worst name in baseball.
Yeah, that's why they call themselves the A's instead of the Athletics, because they're like, our name sucks, man. Let's abbreviate it to something else. Womp. Yeah, womp their name. That's what you get for having such a horrible name. But yeah, so it's going to be a close race all the way through. I think there's only about 2 or 3 games separating these two teams. But you do have the MVP candidate, my pick for MVP so far of the year, with Mike Trout. This kid's phenomenal. He's everything everybody wanted Bryce Harper to be, but isn't, because he's better.
And he doesn't mouth off?
He doesn't mouth off. He keeps his mouth shut. And they also have Albert Pujols, and they have a good starting rotation. But the A's pulled off a really crazy trade where they got Jeff Samardzija and Cole Hamels from the Cubs, which are 2 pretty solid starting pitchers, for pretty much nothing. And they have a guy named Coco Crisp on their team. All I know is we talked about this last week. Where is his cereal endorsement? Where?
Not just cereal endorsement. Like, they need to. It should be its own cereal. There should be the Cocoa Crisps.
The Cocoa Crisps.
Not him endorsing some other cereal. Make a cereal off this guy. All right. Put him on the front.
I will eat it.
His name there. I'd eat it. You know what? Just because.
I mean, because we pitched it.
It's obviously a chocolatey one. You know,
and if you'd like to give us money for our idea, Cocoa Crisp, hit us up. But so, what do you think? Who do you think is going to come out on top in the AL and the NL? Are any of my picks good, or am I just a dummy? Let me know at wordsformyface.com, wordsformyface@gmail.com. Of course, Google+. Comments down below are always appreciated. And Facebook. Hit us up. Let us know what you think. I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks. So, yeah.
And send us your Cocoa Crisp recipes. Just if you're making it in your house, just send it to us.
Yeah, we want those. We want those. Those will be tasty. We'll make them and eat them on the show. How about that? Ha! We'll eat them on the show. Free plug.
I would do it. For Cocoa Crisps?
I'm going to do it once somebody sends me a recipe.
All right.
Okay, so let's move it on.